I wanted to start the conversation out by talking about fears, about shifting the fears, but we have to recognize what they are before we can shift them. So that's some of the things that I wanted to share with you today. Thinking about the different kinds of fear there are. There are, of course, the two core fears, the conditioned fear, which is what we have personally experienced or what we have been taught. And then we have the genetic fear, which is in the grid, in the collective consciousness, and we're born into this. And this is one of the reasons why our conditioning and programming starts the moment that we come out of the womb. We're a clean, blank slate, so to speak. So we resonate, in a sense, to the energy that we are in because we will, seek balance. We will adapt. So this a lot of the fear that we experience is uh, just the fear that is in the collective consciousness. And that is, of course, much more massive than our individual fears. But every time that we have an experience, have a personal experience with fear, that energy goes into the collective consciousness. So it's uh, really been a very, very tightly woven net or grid around the planet. And of course, it's not something that you can see with your eyes, but it's definitely there energetically. And we have so many different types of fears in addition to the core fears. Um, it's just like even with the core emotions, the hate, anger, fear, and resentment, there are so many adjectives that we have, that we use, that are so subliminal and unconscious that we don't even recognize that they are adjectives of those emotions. And which is our indication that we are feeling the emotion without our conscious awareness of it. And you know what? There really isn't anything to do once you become aware of it, because it's the becoming aware of it that will change it. It's like when you shine the light on something that's hidden in the dark. All of a sudden, you're aware of it. You will automatically take appropriate action to whatever it is that the light is revealing. And it's not always a negative or a bad thing. Of course, our experience tells us otherwise for the most part. But so we have a lot of different ways to define these types of fear that we have. We have the fear through uh, supposedly the truth in information, with the media and all of that. And people are always saying, especially lately, it's all fake news, it's all false news. Uh, there's only one place to get the truth, and that's on the internet, and that's not true, and blah 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 blah. And yet, all of those things create the anxiety. Anxiety is an adjective of fear. Conscious of it, when we're inundated with something, and it's a constant barrage of information that is of the same vibration and the same energy, we, in a sense, anesthetize ourselves to it. We become numb to it, and we're not really paying attention to the information. We're just so busy shielding ourselves, in a sense, from the emotion of it. But what's happening is that by zoning out in the way that we do, a lot of times we are literally opening the door. Because by paying attention, we're standing guard, we're filtering, we're saying, okay, oh, that's not true for me. Yes, I do agree with that statement. We are going through that filtering process whenever we are paying attention. But when we are zoning out, when we're distracted, when we're not paying attention to something, then all of that information is just coming into us without any kind of filter. And without that filter, without that conscious awareness, all of these little tiny seeds that are being allowed in are being planted, so to speak. And the more of the same type of information that is allowed into our consciousness, it's like watering and nurturing it and feeding it. So it does begin to grow, and you begin to start functioning off of that perception. It's in another way of saying it's like it's shifting your crystal for you without you being aware of it. It's changing it. So this is one type of fear that we have. And then another way of uh, fears are the emotional fear of God, the what if game. That's prevalent on all levels, but yet we play it so much more in our personal life, it seems. And we create fears that are literally non-existent, but we're creating the energy of it because every time that we go down that road or that path or tap that tone, it's going to resonate and vibrate with all of that false information that we allowed in unfiltered. So we have to pay attention because fear is literally false evidence appearing real. And the only way you're going to know is how does it resonate within you? What does it feel like whenever you embrace that perception or embrace that certain concept? Does it bring you joy? Does it calm you? Does it make you feel peaceful and at ease? Or does it make you feel more anxious? Now remember, when we are in a constant state of fear, which is fear triggers the adrenaline. The adrenaline is the physical form of the energy. The adrenaline is triggered within our body, and it's like almost in a literal sense, it's like we're all junkies to it because we're never out of it. We always have this constant vibration of fear going on within us, and that constant vibration is constantly releasing the adrenaline in our body. So our body is adapting. Since the body seeks balance, it's adapting to it the best of its ability to absorb and release, to become aware, blah, blah, blah. A lot of that is why right now, this is kind of a side note, but this is why right now a lot of us are experiencing physical manifestations of fear. And those physical manifestations of fear are going to be shaky sensations, feeling anxious, prickly sensations, nausea. It can also trigger the cold symptoms because fear flu is a fear disease. So any symptoms of the flu or severe cold is going to be fear manifesting. And this is where the body is attempting to balance itself. You've got so much adrenaline in your body that you're not even consciously aware of, that your body has to get rid of some of it to continue to function. And the more aware that you can become that this exists and do your part to help your body clear it, the faster and the healthier you're going to be, much, much quicker. And so I wanted to talk about the ways that we feel fear, that we don't have any awareness that we're feeling it. Okay? So I'm going to share some words with you. And I want you to know that an aspect of fear is involved when any of these words or behaviors are used to describe your situation or experience, whether it's past, present, or future. Okay? Anger, aggressive, dishonest, suspicious, unhappy, unavailable, not being here, spacey, prejudiced, overprotective, lies, loneliness, smothering, mistrust, disrespect, control, sad, depression. And the list goes on and on and on. And this is something where it would behoove you for you to think about the words that you use or the feelings that you have and identify what they're coming from, what their source is. Use the tools that you've been given. These are extremely powerful, powerful tools for you to use. but they're absolutely worthless and of no value if you don't choose to use them. All the tools do is help you become aware. They give you it's just an assistance. It will never do it for you because nobody has your answers but you. But there is a process to overcoming the conditioning and programming to discover who you truly are. You can't become it because you already are it. And I think it's vital that we make that distinction between with that wording. We cannot become anything. We say, I hear people saying all the time, I want to become and do what I'm here to do. I want to become better than I am. I want to do, and it's kind of like, to me, it's a mirror of the statement that I use of you work just as hard digging your hole in the wrong place as you would digging it where it needs to be dug. Because if you try to be something that you already are, you're spinning your wheels. And you don't give yourself the opportunity to discover who you are. And that's a pretty amazing adventure. I mean, not only are we going through the process of removing the old us, so to speak, visualize that old conditioned being as worn and tattered clothing that you have had to wear your whole life. And now you're being given the opportunity not only to remove them, but to replace them with clothing that is so comfortable and beautiful, that is your heart's desire. You have to learn how to experience and express wearing this new wardrobe, this new costume, as you did whenever you wore the old one. It's a very different process. I mean, something as simple, another analogy to that is I've pretty much been the same weight my whole life, and there was a period where I gained about 20, 25 pounds, enough that it was changing my clothing size and all of that. And learning how to dress myself in that body was so very, very different than the way that I had dressed myself previously. You have to get used to the perspective, to the image, to the situation that you are dealing with. And sometimes it's very uncomfortable, and sometimes it's a lot easier. So we have to become aware of what we are literally feeling, because without us being aware of what we're feeling, we can't experience who we are. We're going to keep trying to go back to being what we think we're supposed to be, even when we know that that's not true, even when we know that that makes us unhappy, miserable, and sick. The conditioning and programming in this world is so intense that we will still continue to seek that familiar. We live in such a state of fear and chaos that we've become on the surface numb to it. But inside, that the icing appears all nice and sweet and smooth and pretty because we've learned how to adapt to it. But internally, inside, that cake is a mess. It's chaotic. It's just vibrating at such a high rate that you wonder at any moment when that cake is going to explode. And this is something that we have the power to shift in our world, to change how we experience and express what we are feeling. Remove the judgment of it. That's what's keeping us in the fear, is the judgment. And we've talked about this in past shows in many different ways, many, many times. And even though I have given you the biggest diamond in saying that judgment is the key to releasing the conditioning and programming, how many of you are really, really using that tool? How many are you using that key to unlock the door? Or is fear keeping you from doing it? Not knowing what's going to be on the other side, not knowing whether you're going to like it better, not knowing. We think we're afraid of the unknown. And we have all accepted the the fear of the unknown as being just totally acceptable. And in a sense, this is the fear of the unknown. Accepting that is what is helping us to survive in a sense, because we're not resisting it, we're not fighting it, we're not denying it, we're not ignoring it. But yet we're not paying attention to it either. We say, oh my God, change is bad. I have a hard time dealing with change. And that's a conditioned response to the programming, because fear is the most constant thing that we experience in our life. Nothing is static. Everything changes every moment of every day. But because we don't pay attention, we're not consciously aware of it, we don't see it happening until something raises the vibration of it, and all of a sudden we're shaken out of our stupor, so to speak, and we go, oh my God, something's changing. I can't handle that. I don't like that. I don't want it to change. Internally, you're screaming, thank you, God. I want change. I'm so bored. I'm tired of things the way they are. I want it to be different. But yet on the outside, you're going, oh my God, change. No, no. That's a conflict. You're going to feel that in your body. Remember when we talked about the way that the body is divided up and how the emotions affect the different sides of the body? Conflict affects right down the center, from the top of the head all the way to the solar plexus. And anything that is out of balance, hurting in any way, shape, or form in that region of the body, you are in absolute conflict. And we always negate it because we think, I'm not in any conflict. Because we perceive conflict as being something big and huge. It's really got our attention, something that we really have to, like a debate or talking and having a discussion that's really intense, and you're on different sides. That's how we think of conflict. That conflict is so irrelevant because that is conscious. We are so aware that we are doing that. We are so aware that we are debating and having this conversation and all of that. But the simple conflict that we just talked about is internal. It's not, you're not paying attention to it. It's insignificant. It doesn't matter. So we don't pay attention to it. We stuff it, we ignore it, we negate it. We have no consciousness that it's there. But our subconscious knows everything. It holds all of this energy. And it's going, oh, no, 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 no. This cannot be. And it starts making your body react so that you will understand that this is not acceptable. The problem is that we are so oblivious to what's going on that we have no clue what our body is reacting to or where to go to look for it. And then our conditioning and programming steps in again and saying, oh, well, you don't have the knowledge. You can't figure it out. You're not good enough. You're not special. It doesn't exist anyway, so why bother, blah, 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 blah. So we just weave this tangled web. Now, again, look at some of the words that are adjectives of fear. Being lonely, being sad, being depressed. Most people would not associate that with being fear. But think about it. It's the beliefs about your situation or your circumstances and your judgment that that's not what it should be that is creating the chaos in your life. When the simple reality is that, okay, you are a spiritual being having a human experience. Your job is to evolve your soul. That's what you are being given this opportunity to do. You're the only one of you there is. So any experience that you find yourself in that you are having is exactly what you need to have for your soul's evolution. And as you fight it, you resist it, you negate it, you ignore it, you're again putting yourself in conflict with your highest and greatest good. Who is going, well, wait a minute, we're just doing what you want to do. Why are you fighting? Why are you not accepting and allowing? And the answer is that you don't know you're not supposed to, or that you can do it any different. And that's what all of the tools are designed to do, is to make you aware of what you're feeling and give you an idea or a step to do in place of that. Nobody has your answers. Nobody can tell you what your path is or what it is that you need to do to, quote, fix your life, unquote. Number one, your life isn't broken. Your life is exactly what it needs to be for your experience, for what you chose to learn, to teach, to experience, to enjoy to in this life. This life, your body is a gift in more ways than just its existence. Do how you can feel, you think. You've got 4, 5 levels or more that you can exist on. We know the emotional, the physical, the spiritual, and the mental. And yet we don't acknowledge the astral or any of the other because of, again, a lot of false information out there about what they are and what they're not. So we get to experience and express so much. But again, that conditioning and programming, that fear machine rears its ugly head and starts sending out the vibrations. Okay, because remember, conditioning and programming is like a vibration. Words are a vibration, and that's why it's important to be conscious of what you say. So the vibration of fear that's already been planted within us is sent out, and we resonate with it, so we start immediately feeling this vibration, this energy within us. And it starts creating this domino effect, and it escalates. This is giving you an idea, a different perspective, an awareness that you may or may not have had, a reminder at the very, very least of how much power and control you have over where you are in your life. You are judging it. If you're not accepting and allowing what you are experiencing. Okay, so it's not what you wanted it to be. That's your judgment. But it's exactly what it needs to be for your highest and greatest good. We forget that the universe, the Creator, is on our side. We are spiritual beings. We are an aspect of all that is. It's to the highest good of all that is for us to have these experiences, for us to gain the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding, the compassion, and the empathy that all of these experiences give us the opportunity to recognize and to embrace. But if we keep having that habitual knee-jerk reaction when we are being triggered, then you're making a conscious choice. When you are aware of something and you choose to do it anyway, you have made your choice. You're choosing to hold on to that false belief, remembering that a false belief was made without conscious awareness. Now that you've become consciously aware of it, you chose to keep it. That's fine. That's not a judgment. That's what it's about. A false belief is simply something, a truth accepted without your conscious awareness. All you were trying to do is to make you aware of the beliefs you hold so that you can choose to keep them, change them, or replace them. You have to be conscious of what you say, think, feel, and do, and why you do that. Or you will continue to react when the bell is rung, so to speak. You know, our conditioning and programming is identical to Pavlov's dog. That vibration is triggered and we all start salivating. It's different degrees based on how consciously aware we are and the work that we have done to remove all that we don't want to experience in our lives anymore. And if you keep experiencing the same thing and you're aware that you keep experiencing the same thing, that is your answer, that you have chosen it. Stop judging it. Embrace it. See what it's about so that you can choose again. Things that we experience, the books, quote unquote, that the universe chooses to teach us from, is not our choice. How we respond and react to it is. But again, our conditioning and programming teaches us React to the book, hate the book, fear the book, which again, book is just another word for the situation or the experience. Because as long as you do that, you are a victim and you will be in fear. That's all you will ever know. But the minute that you start looking at the book and realizing that the book is just the object that you are being given an opportunity to evolve through or from, and start asking the question, okay, what is this going to do for me? How am I going to learn from this? What is to my highest good in this situation? Then we can change it. Then we can move on. Then we can evolve beyond that. But we have to acknowledge, accept, and allow all that we feel without judgment. The judgment will always keep the fear intact. It will always keep it motivating. Okay, I want to take a break. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Easy Knowing. I'm Sherry Kennedy, and we've been talking about fear and all the manifestations of it in our life. I do invite you to participate. You can give me a call at 773-897-6227. Make a comment, share an experience that you've had in relation to this, how you overcame it, what you learned from it, how it evolved you, or just to say hi. And as always, if calling doesn't work, then please go to my website, easyknowing.com. And it's pretty amazing with the information that is there for the taking. It's something you can always refer back to. If you're interested, you can order my book, you can send me a message, and you can always make a donation, which I would be honored to receive. So give me a call, 773-897-6227. I would dearly love to hear your experiences. And again, I really want to ask the question, and I hope somebody gives me a call and shares. Are you using the tools? Is your life changing as a result of it? Or are you letting yourself get overwhelmed with all of the different ways, the different paths to get to the same goal? And if that's the case, then I implore you, just stop, take a deep breath, pick one and walk that one. And whenever it's time for you to be on another one, that will automatically shift for you or present itself. Do not let the fear of who you are not overcome the truth of who you are. That's all we have ever been told is who we're not, what we can't do, what is wrong with us, what needs to change, what blah, blah, blah. And even because of that, as a result of that, even when we are told that we're amazing, that they're wonderful, that we're a unique, radiant, rare, and precious cosmic miracle, we don't believe it. We know it, but we don't believe it. Because all of the other conditioning and programming is so much stronger. I promise you, when you do the work, when you start looking at what you're thinking and why you're feeling what you're feeling, your answers will come to you. You will have aha moments. It will feel like a random thought. It will present itself to you in the way that you can get it. Because remember always, the universe is on our side. Nothing is being done to us. Everything is being done for us so that we can have the human experience that evolves our soul. But as long as we're afraid to have any kind of an adventure or experience at all, or that we judge the one that we are having because it doesn't look like what we think it's supposed to look like, we're going to keep shooting ourselves in the foot. We're going to keep spinning our wheels or digging our hole in the wrong place, in a sense. It's all up to each of us in charge of who we are. Like I said, you cannot become anything. All you can do is discover who you are. And that discovering happens as you start removing the veils or the layers of trash or whatever analogy you want to put on it that has been placed over you with each false belief, with each conditioned social manifestation. each response, negative response. We are taught how to feel, what to feel, when to feel it, and to what degree to feel it as long as it's negative. Have you ever noticed how people respond when you're happy? They're suspicious of you. It's like, what's wrong with you? Why are you so happy? And it's so funny because the more that you discover who you are and the more that you embrace and accept and acknowledge that beautiful being that you are, the more that you start getting everything that you couldn't get before. It is it's such a great mystery. It makes no sense in a way, but yet in another way it makes perfect sense because we have to learn. Our conditioning and programming is all about us going outside of ourselves to get our needs met, to feel what everybody else is feeling, to think what everybody else is thinking, to keep us in a box that only allows us to experience and express to a point, and then we've reached our limit, and that makes us bad. And then some of us say, no, I'm climbing out of this box. I don't want to be there. That's pulling the veils off. That's eliminating the trash in the trash can that's burying your beautiful light. You already are everything you want to be. And for you to say, well, I want to be this, I want to be more of that, I want to be bada, is wasted energy because you already are that. Spend the energy instead of trying to become what you already are, of discovering who that is. Already this amazing, magnificent teacher or healer or mechanic or gardener or doctor, lawyer, whatever. Quit trying to become that. You already are that. Now be that in every possible way. What does that mean? And we don't want to go there because we don't know the answer to that. Well, did it ever occur to you that you're not supposed to know the answer to that? That's part of the journey. That's the process of the discovery. Because within each discovery, within each step we take, are just numerous, abundant gifts for us. Some of them we may like, some of them we may hate, some of them we may not think have any value at all. But everything there is for a purpose. Everything that is happening, whether we understand it or not, is irrelevant. But our own experience has told us that there is always a reason for everything that is going on. And that means there's a reason why you're feeling fear, regardless of how you've disguised it. Whether you disguised it with anger or hurt feelings or depression or control issues or being unhappy and lying or whatever you have disguised you're feeling the fear through, it's time for you to look at it deeper, first layer off. Okay, if I'm sad, what am I sad about? What is creating this energy? What belief am I holding? What experience have I had that is making me hold on to something that is no longer serving me, that is creating fear? Is it the fear of letting it go? Is it the fear of moving forward? Without judgment, what is the fear relating to? Because if you're feeling any of these adjectives of fear, you're feeling fear or an aspect of it in some way. Anger is the perceived major emotion in our world. And I believe that the anger is simply the mask to the greatest emotion of fear. Fear controls and manipulates everything. Fear is the food source for the dark energy. Fear is the trigger for all of the conditioning and programming. Fear is it's controlled through judgment. And whenever the fear starts waning, then the judgment is made more prevalent. Something is put out there for us to judge, for us to look at and make it good or bad or right or wrong. Or it's really, really bad, or it's really, really wrong, as opposed to being just simply good or bad or right or wrong. The volume, the degree, is based on the judgment. But the desire, the intent, or no, let's say it's the motivation, the motor, the engine of it, the thing that makes it go is fear, even though it looks like anger. We think of violence and aggression and all of those things as being anger. They're not. That's the manifestation of the fear that is at the core of everything. But it's so much easier, quote unquote, based on our conditioning and programming to deal with anger. Anger can be more physical. Fear is in a sense more passive, or that's a belief. Fear hides in the shadows, so to speak. Fear doesn't jump up and say, I'm fear, I'm here to control your life. Whereas anger does. All of the child abuse, the violence, the domestic abuse, the gender abuse, the abuse that creates the violence and the hatred and the prejudice, and all of that is coming from fear. Whether you're looking at the micro or the macro level or any place in between, it's still based on fear. And the fear is based on the false beliefs of good and bad and right or wrong. Fear is always based on judgment. Judgment is the foundation of fear. It's the key to removing it. You remove fear, you remove judgment, and you remove the fear. Because the only way you can remove judgment is to be in acceptance, to let it be what it is. If it's not good or bad or right or wrong, then it just is. And what it is absolutely right, correct, and perfect for that person who is experiencing it or perceiving it or participating in it in any way. All righty, I want to wet my whistle here for a minute. Please give me a call. I'd love to talk to you, hear what you have to say. Even if it's about last week's show was pretty good. Any subject, any topic. 773-897-6227. So I don't want you to get caught up in the illusion of what's happening in our society, in the world, and everything that the news media is projecting out there, that it's all about fear. It's all about everybody's judgment. Don't buy into their game. It is coming to be and passing away. There is a lot of chaos. And you cannot have anything, quote, normal, unquote, no matter whether it's macro or micro, whenever you're in the midst of chaos. The chaos has to shake up things. It has to bring to the surface that which has been hidden, that which has been negated, denied, ignored, and resisted. It has to be recognized. And whether it's within us and our false beliefs, or whether it's in the world, whether it's in Mother Earth, bringing up the pockets of negativity that she has stored and held in her body for eons, it all has to surface. It all has to come out. And what I'm saying is that the more consciously aware of it that you are, the easier it's going to be released, to be allowed and accepted. And that is absolutely the key. And everybody goes, it is just too easy. It won't work. There's been too much chaos, too much hell, too much pain and suffering, and blah, 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 for it to be that simple. Just because the words are simple does not mean that they don't hold truth, and that truth is more powerful than anything you can imagine. I am that I am. That is beyond anything we can perceive in our limited 3D imagination. Bring it home, bring it to your heart. Use your heart brain to look at what's going on around you. And it doesn't matter whether you love it or whether you hate it. That is absolutely irrelevant. The earth is vibrating. The earth is shifting. The earth is healing as she shifts, because all that no longer resonates within the energy that she is will fall away. It will die. It will be destroyed. It will cease to exist. Whatever verbalization you want to use to describe its demise, it's still not going to be able to exist if it is not in resonance with the vibration of the earth. And that includes ideas, concepts, beliefs that just have outlived their time, that it's time to let them go. We are one. The light in me loves the light in you. And that is always going to be true. It has always been true. Oh my goodness. I see that we just got 2 calls at once. So I'm going to remind you to shut down your sound. And okay. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Sherry.
Well, hello. You want to tell everybody who this is?
Yeah, this is Jason.
Hi, Jason. It's so good to hear from you. What did you want to share with us?
Well, I'd like to share a little bit of my experience and my path as far as becoming more aware and kind of paying more attention to some of the fears and things that I was functioning on and how I kind of faced them and moved on. And, I think I owe a lot of thanks to you especially, but for the healing and the waking up. There were a lot of healers and wonderful, talented body workers and acupuncture and things that were more accepted socially for making some conscious effort to get better, to get well,
right.
and work on some pains that were happening. And anyhow, the fear that was kind of keeping me in this job that I wasn't really happy with, it was almost debilitating at times, and so I had to look at that, and it took me over a year of thinking about leaving the job to actually look up the courage to face and leave. And it was tough. It didn't jive with many people's view because it was a good job and it was paying the bills and it was had a future, but it wasn't where I felt I needed to be. It wasn't something I could really believe in. I had to put my heart into. So it took me more time than I think a lot of others, and including myself, thought that
well, don't judge it.
Actually, yeah. Well, I mean, taking time off. My friends were joking with me, "Oh, how's retirement?" And I was like, "No, I'm just taking a break."
There you go.
But being more creative is kind of where I, found that was what was needed. Which led me to the next path as far as work goes, because I wanted to do something that had more to do with the environment and being more earth friendly and such. And
make you happy too.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of it. Money isn't everything, so volunteering. I even volunteered at a local thrift store to help kind of face my tendencies of hoarding stuff. So that went okay. little bit of self-torture there, but it felt good to volunteer. Then volunteering at a local garden, it led to this job that I just recently took, and it's with a company that does more organic, earth-friendly solutions, for gardening and farming and livestock. And so it's, I think, something that's becoming more popular, and this guy who started it was ahead of the curve for organic farming like 30 years ago when he started it. So
sounds like you're really resonating with it.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels good to be a part of something that's beneficial. It's dirty, stinky work, but it feels good, and so and it's a little bit of a letting go of the fear of whether or not it's going to meet my financial goals. But I know for now, at least it's something more steady that'll help cover the bills, and so it's just.
Well, as long as you're happy, you're going to bring that energy to you. Because happy and joy creates more abundance and prosperity on all levels. And
Yeah.
one of the things I just want to remind you of is that when you are in your truth and whenever you are being honest with yourself, your needs will be met.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
just kind of the way that it works. When you resist, when you struggle and you fight against it, you're never getting your needs met. But all of a sudden, when you start living in harmony with what your heart wants you to do, whether it's digging in the dirt and playing with the earth, that is healing and that
Hmm.
is beneficial and that is feeding your soul. And
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's creating joy and happiness, you're going to draw all that you need to you.
I
And
see. Yeah.
again, my belief is that we always ask for money or think that the financial aspect is the most important. But in truth, it's getting the need met. And if you need to make a house payment, a car payment, pay the bills, buy food, does it matter how it gets done as long as it gets done? Somebody else could come along and buy your groceries. You could get a credit on your utility bill. Those are all some little tiny ways that the needs are going to be met without I need money to meet them. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So be
Yeah.
happy what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when somebody said, do if you're doing something that makes you happy, the money will come. And so
Yes,
like
do what
you
you
just said,
love and the money will follow.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That is
So yeah,
always true.
that's my little story on kind of a long. Well, judging it, it took me a while to just find something. But I mean, like you said, there's not many accidents. I think that things happen for a reason to give you the perspective
Oh,
you need at that
absolutely.
time.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much for sharing that. I have a question for you.
Welcome. Okay.
How did your what judgment did you release when you finally acted on the decision to leave your old job? Did you define it to that point?
That's a good question. I think it was. I think I was judging myself on the kind of value or some kind of conditioned value that I grew up with, that I have to have this.
Very good.
Job. I have to use my degree that I got in, or I had to, at least use my talents. And so, it was fulfilling to me.
And did
but it
that
was
choice
also,
give you more confidence?
Yeah.
Did that
Yeah.
choice change you? Change how you see you?
Well, I think it took that for me. It took that I had to build that confidence to be able to take the leap, into,
Yes.
especially not having a job to go into next. To do some soul searching and take some time. Because like I said, it wasn't that easy. I mean, my wife was still working, and then 6 months later, she got laid off. So we were both going, "Oh, okay,
Right.
And so
Created some interesting challenges for yourself to learn that lesson, didn't you?
Yeah.
Very cool, babe. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm so happy for you that you came into the awareness of that false belief that you were carrying around that was limiting you and keeping you from being who you truly are. Kudos, babe.
Thank you.
Pat on the back,
Thanks,
gold stars. You done good.
Oh, good. And keep up the good work. I love what you're doing.
Oh, thank you, sweetie. And thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome. Bye.
Talk soon. Bye-bye. Jason, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's a very valid experience. That is, it's something that he actually went through. The challenge of deciding, do I give up this job that is supposed to be so perfect and great and it's paying the bills and blah blah blah, but I'm unhappy and I'm miserable. And of course, again, the conditioning and programming that we grow up with of being responsible and having to pay the bills and blah, 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 it does create that conflict again. So I'm so happy for you that you shifted your crystal and was able to overcome that judgment about who you're not and able to step into the truth of who you are and act on that. It's a biggie, and it's important. So, again, Jason, thank you for sharing and bringing that information out into the grid so we all can have the opportunity to tap into the courage that brought for you. So I guess we lost our other caller. And if you get a chance, give us a call back. I would still love to hear from you. And again, if you're just kind of tuning in, we're talking about fears and the different manifestations of fear in our life and how it kind of sneaks in. And we don't realize that the emotions that we are feeling are from fear. And I think it would be good for each of us to look at other words, other feelings and moods that we're having, and what's the word that we're defining it with, and is that word really fear in disguise? You cannot change anything until you become aware of what it is. And if you start wanting to do something and there's nothing coming, then it's just not time yet. Cannot push the river. All you can do is flow with it, and whenever something hits your path, you embrace it, you accept it, you do what you need to do to keep your path clear. Do not try to push the river on this. Ask the questions. Your body's going to talk to you. But you have to start asking the questions to get the answers to understand. Okay, we got another caller, so let me click in here. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Sherry.
Good morning.
This is Tara.
Hi, sweet thing. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, nice to hear you too. So I have a similar story to Jason's, which I'll just go ahead and not share since he pretty much touched on all of it. But I, had a very secure 8-to-5 job with benefits, all that, had built a career, and I just wasn't happy. And I decided, I was going back to school to further my degree to keep on in this career. And one day I just said, wait, I don't even like this career. Why am I doing this? And that's when I switched modes and went to massage school and started doing, massage and energy work. And that has changed my whole life and my identity, so to speak. I'm a bigger, different kind of person.
Yes, absolutely.
And everything I needed was, and, provided for. It ended up just working out perfectly. So there's a little bit of affirmation and to think of things. So,
oh, thank you so much for that. That's so important because, I can sit here until I'm blue in the face and talk about the tools and how to use them, but to have people like you and Jason calling and sharing, this is what I did, and this is how it changed me. And it's a scary step, but this is where you've got to embrace the fear. Make it your best friend. Isn't that what you ultimately had to do?
Oh, definitely, and actually I have two more. I don't know. I don't want to say superficial, but they are more kind of not as deep kind of fears. So it is a valid word, not judgmentalness. I had a big fear of heights, and when I got divorced, I was going to have my own apartment, and I had a visual of what I wanted and everything. So I found this apartment. There was everything I wanted, except for it was on the 3rd floor, and the staircase was outdoors. And it was on a really big hill that overlooked the whole city.
Wow.
so when I went to view the apartment, I immediately got dizzy as I was walking up the stairs. I got vertigo and walked into the apartment, and it was perfect. And I thought, gosh, how can I, not take this wonderful apartment that's everything I asked for just because of my stinking fear of heights? I'm not going to do it. I'm going to get over that, and I'm moving on up, and this is it. So I took the apartment. It took me about 2 weeks to not get dizzy every time I walked up the stairs. But it ended up leading to a huge change in my life, and I literally did end up moving on up in a different way, in an energy way.
Yeah, that's a great story, girl. Again, how it...
Go ahead. I was going to say, and there's one more that maybe other, females can relate to. I was always afraid to go on road trips by myself. Just even an hour, 2 hours away, I was just afraid because there's crazies out there and they'll kill you, and women are the ones that are always victimized and blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't get over it for years until I finally took a job that was in Tier C, so that was an hour-and-a-half drive for me, and I eventually just got over the fear. Well, I ended up just recently now doing a 3-day solo road trip over almost 1,800 miles by myself, and it was the best time of my life. And if I'd never taken that baby step, and if I had never taken the baby step to just go an hour-and-a-half out, I would never have gotten to the point where I could do that road trip all by myself, no fear, just everywhere, everything was wonderful.
Exactly. And it's just that easy. Sometimes it's taking the steps and then the awareness comes to you. Oh, Tara, what great stories. Thank you so much for sharing. And what I'm getting a lot from what you're saying is the simplicity of it. You were consciously aware. You made a choice to do it different. You didn't say, you didn't jump out and try and jump across the Grand Canyon. You jumped across the puddle first. And then each time you were able to go more. And that's just, and as you did that, you got more confidence and you built it along the way. That's what I'm getting from your story. And I'm so excited for you and the awareness you hold about the journey that you took. Thank
you, because if I wouldn't have thought I got to get over this fear, I would have just still been afraid of heights and afraid of traveling on the road by myself.
For the rest of your life.
Yeah, my whole life I've been trapped.
Yes, you would. Oh, isn't freedom magnificent?
Marvelous.
And isn't it fun discovering who you really are? Because you really weren't that person that was trapped. You're this person. And that's just phenomenal. Yay.
Yes.
Thank you, darling. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, I just got notice that the show is almost time to end. But I do wanted to thank Jason and Tara for sharing, because what they're saying and what they've done is just another way of stepping into who you truly are, of not trying to become who you think you're supposed to be or stay the person you think you're supposed to be. Jump out. Face that fear head on, make it your best friend, and live your life to this fullest degree. All righty. So until next week, follow your heart's song and paint the world with the colors of your soul. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Metro PCS.
Hi, I heard you're giving free phones to everybody?
Yes, right now everybody gets a free phone. You and your friends, cousins, neighbors, roommates.
What if I'm already with Metro PCS?
Yeah, it's for existing customers, new customers, people named Willie, dog lovers.
That's awesome.
Everyone gets a free phone at Metro PCS. Come choose your select free phone from brands like Samsung and LG. Metro PCS. Wireless figured out. Sales tax not included. Phones free after instant and mail-in rebates. Upgrade fee may apply. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.